Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Yorros. I make lifestyle and faith videos. In today's video, I am going to be sharing 10 very important things. I have them here written down in my journal, and it's 10 things to expect when you're going to be hospitalized or stay in the hospital for a few days, or even if you're going to the ER or anything like that. And the reason that I wanted to share this with you guys, this information, is because I am both a nurse and the wife of someone who is chronically ill. My husband is a dialysis patient, and he had a stint in the hospital 3 months last year. So I've been on both sides of the situation, right? I've been the nurse, the bedside nurse in the hospital, and I have also been the patient's family member who has questions and who gets frustrated. I have been both those people, so I have learned a lot of things along the way, but also things that I think I want to share with people, because sometimes the general public, or just those who are not in healthcare, might not understand why things work the way they do. And sometimes when we have more information and we understand what is going on, it makes us feel more at ease when we are in the hospital. But I don't want to make this intro too long. I want to go ahead and get into it. All right, so I'm going to start off by saying that I just made another video, which is probably why I am wearing the same outfit and everything. And so you can go back and watch that video. It should be the video right before this one, if not very close to this one, but I will link it up in the cards and down below. I filmed a video about all of the essential items that I bring with me whenever my husband gets hospitalized, has surgery, also when he spent time in the hospital. Items that I bring with me that make the hospital stay more comfortable for me, more comfortable for him. But without any further ado, let's get into it. 10 things that you need to expect when you're being hospitalized, starting with number 1. These are in no particular order, and the first one is that you need to expect that you're not going to get much sleep. Oh my goodness. My patients would drive me crazy with this one, because I work day shift in the hospital, and when I would come in really early in the morning to take on, my patient for the day, they would always complain to me that they barely got any sleep, that night shift kept coming in to bother them, that they were uncomfortable. And so it's just has to be a given. I want people to expect this when they're getting hospitalized, when, maybe it's not even getting hospitalized. Maybe it's even just going to give birth. Just expect that you're going to be bothered throughout the night. You're going to have people coming in to check on you. You're going to have the nurse aides or the patient care techs, or whatever you might know them as. They're going to come in and they're going to do your vital signs. Usually every 4 hours is kind of like the standard. Sometimes it's less, but most of the time I see that it's every 4 hours. Someone has to take all of your vital signs, your blood pressure, your temperature, all that stuff. So they're going to do it even throughout the night while you're sleeping. Most of the time in hospital rooms, you can control your own AC unit. You can put the heater on or whatever, but do expect it could get a little bit cold. That's why I did suggest in my last video to bring maybe a blanket from home that you like, that makes you feel comfortable, or you can always ask the nurses or the nurse aide to bring in an extra blanket. Don't be afraid to do that, but just expect that it's not going to be a super comfortable sleep. All right, number 2. All of your medication will be provided. And I say this because it's actually something my husband didn't know, or like he knew but forgot, is that don't take your own medication. The reason that you can't just go taking your own medication is they want to control what you're getting. They want to know exactly what you're getting. And that's in case you have like an allergic reaction. That's in case a medication makes your blood pressure come down. Like, they want to know exactly what you've gotten over the time you've been in the hospital, so they know which one's the culprit. That's really important as well. Plus, you might be in the hospital for a specific condition, like my husband was. Just to give you his example, his blood pressures have been low, and so there was 3 medications that the doctors ended up telling him not to take, and he accidentally took one of them. So it's really important that you don't take your own medication, and that you let the doctors decide what you should and should not take. All right, moving right along. Number 3. Do expect that there are going to be times where your loved one cannot stay the night. This is also related to safety reasons, infection control reasons. In the this last hospitalization with my husband, I was not, actually in both of the hospitalizations, I was not allowed to stay with him. And the reason, sometimes I was, sometimes I wasn't. It depended on the rules changing. But with COVID, if your loved one has COVID, do expect that you won't probably be allowed to be with them. Unless, there's a really serious situation. But do expect that most of the time you won't be allowed to stay overnight with your patient. This is for safety reasons. Some hospitals have rooms where 2 people stay in a room. There's 2 patients to a room. And in that case, don't fight with them. You won't be able to stay. They, cannot leave a stranger, when they're sleeping in that room when there's another patient. So it's just a safety issue, right? If you're staying in the hospital and your neighbor has family members and you're sleeping, you'd be kind of worried that there's a stranger in the room. And just because of privacy reasons and safety reasons, a lot of the time the hospital's policy is that you cannot stay overnight. There's a set visitation time, and you have to stick with it. Now, this is different if you're like a pediatric patient, you're under 18. Most of the time they will absolutely allow someone to stay with you, obviously. All right, number 4 is bath and showers may not happen. And I know some of you are gonna be like, no, they have to bathe you. They do, but here's the thing. If an emergency arises on the unit, sometimes your tech or your nurse's aide or your nurse might run out of time and not be able to give you a bath and a shower. Now, these things should be offered to you every single day. And a lot of the times when you're hospitalized though, for different reasons, if you have surgery, you might not be allowed to get that incision wet. So just expect that they're not going to let you just walk into the shower. You might be on some heavy duty meds, you might be on something that sedated you, and they're just not gonna let you walk into the shower and do your thing. You're going to have a nurse's aide or a nurse or someone that's going to be there helping you shower or do a sponge bath. Most likely a sponge bath. This one is going to be very interesting. Number 5 is the healthcare provider, the doctor, is going to round at different times. I think sometimes people come to the hospital and expect it to be like clockwork. Some of the hospital stuff is it's on a cycle, at what time you get your medicines, at what time the nurse, does her medication pass, at what time you get your meals. There's some things that are like on a schedule. Your doctor coming to do rounds and give you information about your care and updates and decide, are you getting discharged or are you not, whatever. That is not a set time. Most of the time the doctor can round. One day he'll come in the morning really early, the next day he comes late at night. You don't know when the doctor's gonna round, and you have to be patient. I would get so many people angry with me, and I'm like, listen, I cannot control what time the doctor rounds. The doctor might have an emergency in a completely different unit, in a completely different facility, and they just haven't had time to come and talk to you and give you your updates. That does not mean they're not doing their job. That doesn't mean they haven't checked on your labs. That doesn't mean they haven't ordered new medications for you. It doesn't mean they're not taking care of you, but they just haven't had time to come and face-to-face round and, check on you. A lot of people would also get angry when the doctor didn't round and it was their assistant or their nurse practitioner. They're just as good. They're just as, they have a ton of training. I'm not gonna say just as trained, but they have a ton of training. And I will find sometimes that nurse practitioners are just the best. And physician's assistants too, but I just love nurse practitioners. A lot of them are so knowledgeable. They have the nursing background. They have that compassion. They have that bedside manner, but then they also have all the information the doctor has and are very thorough. So I love nurse practitioners. Number 6 is that you might be seen by multiple specialties. So you might come into the hospital because you fainted at home, and in your mind you're like, well, it was no big deal. I fainted. I probably need to be drinking more water, what have you. But expect that you're going to be seen by multiple specialties. You might have a neurologist come see you. You might have a cardiologist come see you. Just expect that it's a lot of moving parts, and it's all to make sure that you are safe, that you are clear to truly go home and be discharged. Listen, specialties exist for a reason. A hospitalist or a general doctor, they look at the overall picture, but if you have a consulting physician on your case, they are the ones who are specialized in that area, whether it be the heart. Gosh, there's even foot doctors, podiatrists. There's a doctor for everything. And so sometimes you're gonna have to wait on that specialist to clear you before you can go home. Number 7, do expect that you're going to be taken care of by multiple nurses and nurses' aides and any other people that may be part of the unit where you're staying. You're going to get different ones. There is a change of shift. So do expect that when there is that change of shift, there's also going to be the passing on of information, something called report. It's usually something that has to be done at the bedside. It is when the nurse that had you, there's usually 2 shifts in a hospital, but sometimes there's 3. So usually your nurse that took care of you during the day, they have to pass on report to your night shift. So they're probably going to come into your room and they're going to do report. One nurse is going to tell the other kind of the story, why you're here, what your labs look like, what are some things I need to watch out for, what's the care plan, you know, what is the doctor thinking of doing. And during this report, you might hear some new information. So this is a great moment for you to ask questions. Ask your nurses, what did the doctor say? Ask them to remind you what your labs are. Ask them to remind you what the care plan is. This is the time to do it. And if your nurses are not coming into the room to do this handoff report where they're giving all the information over to the next nurse and handing off your care to that nurse, then ask them to come in. Ask them, hey, when you do report, can you guys come in just so I can meet my nurse for tonight and I can ask questions. So don't be afraid to do that. Number 8 is you're probably going to be told that you do have to wear a hospital gown. I used to have some patients, especially younger patients, who would get really angry. They're like, I don't want to take off my clothes and put on this hospital gown that I don't know who's worn it. Listen, I am not even going to judge you. If I am a patient in a hospital, odds are I'm not putting on the hospital gown. I'm just gonna be so honest. Like, so many things happen to those hospital gowns, right? Like, they're not disposable. I'm just gonna break it to you. They're not disposable. Other patients have worn them and all kinds of things have happened to those hospital gowns. Now, they've been washed, okay? They get, you know, there's high standards for these things. They get washed, but yeah, they gross me out too. So I totally get it. So you might want to not wear it. So bring loose clothing. It is policy that we get patients in hospital gowns. That just allows us to be able to access, you know, if a cardiac arrest happens, we can just rip off the gown and get some paddle or get some stickers on you and, you know, check you out. You know, it's just like a thing to not get your clothes messed up, to get access to you if an emergency occurs. But you do have the right to refuse, which is going to be tip number 9. You do have the ability, like not the ability, but you have the right to say, no, I don't want to do that. And a lot of patients sometimes think that because a doctor is suggesting something, they have to go right along with it. No, you are allowed to say, no, I am not, I don't understand this procedure. I don't understand why this needs to be done. And I'm not going to say yes until someone explains it to me. You are absolutely allowed to do that. And your nurse should be your advocate and she should explain things to you. And if you say, well, I don't feel comfortable, she should say, well, you know what? Let's call the doctor. Let's have him come back in and explain it to you so that you feel more at ease. I'm trying to think actually, is there a certain medication? Like for example, right now he can't take his blood pressure meds. Let's say his nurse came in, she didn't have the full story and she gives him his blood pressure meds and he says, I can't take these, right? I'm not supposed to. My nephrologist said I'm not supposed to. And when you're a dialysis patient, you really have to listen to your nephrologist. You know, primarily, anyways, that nurse might be like, no, your doctor ordered these, so you are supposed to take them, you know. And sometimes, you know, some healthcare workers are stressed, they're in a hurry, they're, you know, let me tell you, I love healthcare workers. I think they're amazing. I'm a nurse, you know, so I just think nurses are like the best. But sometimes they don't have the full story and you have to be like, you know, an advocate for yourself and say, no, I was told not to take them and I will take them, but I want to talk to the doctor about it. I want to get the answers I need before I go through with this. All right, guys, number 10 is going to take the cake and it's going to be our very last one. And it takes a long time to get discharged. This is one that my husband wasn't expecting, I don't think, and he would get so frustrated with the system and the way that things work and the rules. But the reality is it does take a hot minute to get discharged. Your doctor might have come in during the day and said, maybe your specialist, I'm clearing you, you're gonna get discharged. And you're like, awesome, I get to go home. But the only one who can truly put orders in for you to get discharged is your hospitalist. So let's say, like, for example, my husband was in the hospital for like things related to his kidneys and his dialysis. So his nephrologist came very early in the morning, probably like at 8 or 9 in the morning, and told him, you are clear from my standpoint, you're probably gonna go home today. And my husband got excited. He's like calling me like, let's go. But the thing is, his hospitalist had to give the final order that yes, he can go home. And the hospitalist wasn't coming by. It took forever. Finally, his nurse practitioner came by, who was awesome, and got Daniel discharged, but it took hours. I think, like I said, his nephrologist ran it like at 9 in the morning, and then at 4 p.m. is when the nurse practitioner finally came in to put the final discharge orders on behalf of the hospitalist. That's a long time. 7 hours? I think that's 7 hours. So So it was a very long time. It was frustrating. Daniel, my husband, was getting anxious and he's like, I want to go now. I want to go home. I don't want to be here anymore. And it is really frustrating. And the reason I want to tell you this is because if you expect it, then hopefully you have a little bit more patience, a little bit more kindness for your nurse. Your nurse cannot put in discharge orders. Your nurse cannot say, yes, go home, not a problem, until those orders are put in by your, you know, primary general doctor, who again looks at the whole picture, not just your kidneys or not just your heart. They're looking at the whole picture. Until they put in the final discharge orders, can't go. You can't. I mean, you can, like I said, you're allowed to refuse and you're allowed to leave, but you'll be going against medical advice, something called AMA. You left against medical advice, and that could be an issue with your insurance. Your insurance might not cover some of the services your hospital stay because you left against medical advice. So just be aware that you have to wait for the general doctor to get you discharged, okay? So guys, I hope that these 10 things to expect when you get hospitalized is helpful. If you're the loved one or caregiver for someone who's sick, hopefully these things help you, and you can also share them with those non-medical people in your life who might get hospitalized, might get frustrated with a lot of the things in the hospital. But listen, healthcare workers are amazing. They're doing their best. They want to get you discharged. They want you to be better. They want you to go home. But hospitals are really busy places. There's all kinds of emergencies and things going on, and so things take long. It can be frustrating, you know, it's a lot of information coming at you from different specialists and stuff like that. So it can be scary, confusing, disappointing, anger causing, I don't know, you know, hospital stays are, no one ever goes to the hospital because they're happy. I don't think anybody goes to the hospital and say, oh, I had fun in the hospital. No, hospitalizations aren't fun. And so if you are hospitalized, I am so sorry that you have to go through this, or if you're sick, I am so sorry. I'm praying for you guys. And I know it's not easy because we're living through it right now with my husband's conditions. So just know that you're not alone. You have a friend here in the internet who knows what it's like. And so, yeah. So anyways, I make more videos sharing our story, sharing updates, and I make multiple videos weekly. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, because you'll see me in just a couple of days, because I make multiple videos every single week. But anyways, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.